She fantasized about eating fruit, and to her surprise, her mouth actually started watering. This performance made the boy inexplicably restless, and when he looked again, the girl seemed even more alluring. The boy quickly paid the bill, but by the time he returned, the girl had already fallen asleep. A couple at the next table was kissing, making the boy glance over involuntarily. But when he approached the girl, he couldn't bring himself to take advantage of her. Just when he thought this chance encounter would end uneventfully, the girl invited him to her place the next day to see her cat. She appears glamorous on the surface, but in reality, she lives in a cramped rented room that is cold and dark, with sunlight only coming from the reflection of the television tower.
보일아.
고양이 이름이 보일이야?
새끼 때 지하 보일러실에 버려져서 울고 있는 걸 내가 데려왔거든.
The boy waited awkwardly, but the cat the girl mentioned never showed up. Suddenly, the girl moved closer, making the boy tense up instantly, though he half-heartedly took off his clothes. His inexperience made him nervous. A beam of refracted sunlight appeared on the wall, only to vanish moments later. Love between the poor is like that sunlight briefly illuminating each other's lives. Not long ago, they had just met. The boy, a literature graduate, couldn't find work and delivered groceries part-time. As they left the supermarket, the girl slipped him a note, then picked a ball for him from the raffle box and handed it to him. It happened to be the winning ticket.
이종수. 네. 우리 어릴 때 같은 동네 살았잖아. 파주시 탄현면 마누리. 나야, 신혜미. 나 얼굴 성형했어. 예뻐졌지?
They hid in a corner catching up, their conversation growing increasingly flirtatious, though Lee Jong-soo hesitated when asked about his job.
글 쓰고 있어.
그럼 작가야?
아직 정식 작가는 아니고.
Only when talking about the novel he was writing did Lee Jong-soo show a hint of pride. He gave the watch to Shin Hae-mi, who immediately understood his unspoken message. Seizing the moment, he invited her for barbecue, but the plastic tarp behind them only highlighted their poverty. The boy wanted to win her over quickly, but the girl was leaving for a trip to Africa in 2 days.
아프리카 칼라하리 사막에 사는 부시맨. 부시맨들에게는 두 종류의 굶주린 자가 있대. 굶주린 자, 영어로 헝거. 리틀 헝거와 그레이트 헝거. 리틀 헝거는 그냥 배가 고픈 사람이고, 그레이트 헝거는 삶의 의미에 굶주린 사람이래. 우리가 왜 사는지, 인생에 어떤 의미가 있는지 그런 거를 늘 알려고 하는 사람. 그런 사람이 진짜 배가 고픈 사람이라고 그레이트 헝거라고 부른대. 그레이트 헝거.
She had no other friends, so she asked the boy to help her feed her cat on a regular basis. Lee Jong-soo agreed, and from then on, he visited Shin Hae-mi's home every few days. He visited her place repeatedly but found no trace of the cat. But strangely, new cat feces kept appearing in the tray under the bed. Staring at Shin Hae-mi's photos, he relived their fleeting sweetness. After a long wait, he finally heard she was back, but when he rushed to the airport, she arrived with Ben, a wealthy heir. They discussed dinner plans as if he weren't there, leaving Lee Jong-soo trailing behind with their luggage. Unable to join the conversation, though Lee Jong-soo drove, Ben acted like the host. Only after a few drinks did Shin Hae-mi seem to warm up to him. Suddenly, Shin Hae-mi burst into tears, while Ben laughed mockingly.
난 사람이 눈물을 흘리는 게 신기해. 왜냐면 난 눈물을 흘리고 울어본 적이 없거든. 아주 어렸을 땐 그랬을 텐데 내 기억 속에서는 난 눈물을 흘려본 적이 없어요.
Ben's condescending attitude ignited a quiet rage in Lee Jong-soo.
혹시 무슨 일 하시는지 물어봐도 돼요?
얘기해도 잘 모르실 건데 간단히 말하면 그냥 노는 거예요.
He smiled politely, but inside he was silently furious at the unfairness of the world. Ben's refined smile couldn't hide the danger in his eyes.
귀엽죠? 졸리면 장소 안 가리고 그냥 잠들어요.
Remembering their time in Africa, Lee Jong-soo's jealousy became unbearable, but Ben called his driver and left. Laughing casually, taking advantage of Lee Jong-soo's inattention, Ben paid the bill with a generous gesture, his polite smile silently asserting his dominance. Seeing the luxury car outside, Lee Jong-soo felt utterly powerless. The gap between them was as vast as the difference between that car and his delivery truck. He helped Ben unload his luggage like a servant, but he didn't know what to do with Shin Hae-mi's luggage.
내가 데려다 줄까?
그래, 그렇게 해. 나 길이 멀잖아.
Lee Jong-soo helped Shin Hae-mi carry her luggage out of the car, shook hands with Ben to say goodbye, and felt heartbroken but avoided Shin Hae-mi's gaze. As the luxury car passed him, a bitter smile crossed his face. He thought their connection had ended there, but that evening Shin Hae-mi called and invited him out. He fixed his hair outside the cafe, hopeful, but she pointed Ben was nearby. A mere wave from Ben deflated Lee Jong-soo instantly. The moment Ben returned, Shin Hae-mi's gaze was deeply captivated by him. Lee Jong-soo watched them flaunt their affection, then followed them to Ben's mansion. Ben cooked for them himself, but his reason for enjoying cooking was disturbing.
내가 요리를 좋아하는 건 내가 생각하고 원하는 걸 내 마음대로 만들어낼 수 있어서요. 그리고 더 좋은 것은 내가 그거 먹어버린다는 거지. 인간이 신에게 재물을 바치듯이.
The analogy made Lee Jong-soo so uncomfortable he excused himself to the bathroom. Taking advantage of the fact that no one had noticed, he secretly opened the cabinet and found piles of cosmetics and women's jewelry in Ben's cupboard. Lee Jong-soo assumed Ben was just a playboy, unaware of the real danger. As if unaware of his discomfort, they invited them to an upscale party. Lee Jong-soo seemed out of place, but Shin Hae-mi was excited. She animatedly described her Africa trip, even demonstrating tribal dances. This was her only way to impress Ben's circle, yet they secretly mocked her. Lee Jong-soo noticed that the rich kid was yawning, but Shin Hae-mi didn't see his expression, believing her performance might grant her entry to their world. This indescribable humiliation made Lee Jong-soo feel extremely uncomfortable, so he made up an excuse and fled. The next day, Shin Hae-mi called she and Ben were coming over. Lee Jong-soo scrambled to greet them as the luxury car pulled up. The luxury car ignored his directions and stopped randomly at a spot. Even in the dusty countryside, Ben exuded effortless grace. For the rich, historical differences are insignificant, but for the poor, even the smallest things can be fatal. Shin Hae-mi mentioned falling into a well as a child, but Lee Jong-soo had no memory of it.
우물에 빠졌었다고?
혼자 놀다가 거기에 빠져가지고 그때 종수가 날 발견해서 구출됐지. 그런데 기억도 못하네.
She looked at him, but he avoided her gaze. Ben's presence made him feel inferior. They sipped expensive wine and admired the sunset. But although they could watch the sunset together, the insurmountable class divide still existed. As jazz played from Ben's car, Shin Hae-mi rose like clockwork. She took off her top in front of them, spreading her arms like wings, as if preparing to burn her life away before sunset. She got drunk, and two men carried her to bed. Under the cover of night, Ben confessed a secret. Every 2 months, he burns down the greenhouse to satisfy his destructive urge, because those things are all useless junk, and even if he burns them, no one will bother him. The flames made him eerie, and Lee Jong-soo understood the subtext. Those unwanted greenhouses were likely poor, forgotten girls, and Shin Hae-mi might be next.
나는 혜미를 사랑하고 있어요. 아니, 난 혜미를 사랑한다고.
When she reappeared, Lee Jong-soo fell silent, desperate to protect her.
너 왜 그렇게 옷을 잘 벗어? 남자들 앞에서. 창녀나 옷을 그렇게 벗는 거야.
Without answering, Shin Hae-mi walked straight to Ben's car, watching them leave. Lee Jong-soo felt utterly helpless. That night, he dreamed of his younger self staring at a raging fire, not trying to stop it, but faintly excited. He woke hungover, Ben's ominous words echoing in his mind. The backyard remained unchanged. Ben's lighter was still on the table, as if proudly declaring that his next plan was about to begin. He searched every nearby greenhouse, but all were intact. Just as he feared, Shin Hae-mi was the target. She called.
여보세요? 여보세요?
The phone picked up the sound of frantic footsteps and loud thumping, followed by silence. And when called back, no one answered. Lee Jong-soo immediately went to her apartment, which was empty, as if she had never existed. Even the cat, Boiler, was gone. Her luggage remained. She couldn't have traveled. Lee Jong-soo had no choice but to ask her boss, who said that she often disappeared, just like many pretty girls with debts who were hiding from debt collectors. With no other choice, Lee Jong-soo had no option but to follow Ben, but he remained alone, with no sign of Shin Hae-mi.
비닐하우스는 어떻게 됐어요?
비닐하우스. 그걸 아직 기억하고 있구나. 물론 태웠죠.
우리 집 근처에서요? 언제요?
그날 거기 갔다가 하루인가 이틀 뒤에.
Lee Jong-soo has searched every greenhouse. If one burned, he'd have noticed, perhaps toying with him. Ben hinted,
너무 가까우면 안 보일 수 있어요.
He'd moved on to another pretty, penniless girl. Recalling Ben's hint earlier, Lee Jong-soo now believes that Ben killed Shin Hae-mi. Lee Jong-soo, desperate with anxiety, ran around the fields every day, frantically searching for a greenhouse that had been burned down. As long as one greenhouse is destroyed, it proves that everything is just speculation, but none were damaged, and Shin Hae-mi never reappeared. Consumed by rage, he stalked Ben for days, only witnessing his lavish routine. In the evening, he saw Ben running in the brightly lit gym and noticed Lee Jong-soo, but only gave him a meaningful look. Lee Jong-soo grew increasingly impatient, closing the distance between himself and his target. Ben drove to the suburbs, and Lee Jong-soo thought he had a secret. But when he got out of the car, he was just staring blankly at a reservoir, parked outside Ben's place. Lee Jong-soo got a call from Ben.
종수 씨, 어디에요?
어쩐지 차가 낯이 익다 했는데.
전 혜미에 대해서 할 말이 있어서요.
그럼 전화를 하지. 들어가요.
In order to prevent Ben from discovering his unusual behavior, Lee Jong-soo had no choice but to follow him inside. However, after saying just a few words, he noticed that there was an extra cat in his house. Remembering Shin Hae-mi's missing cat, his suspicion deepened. Pretending to use the bathroom, he searched for evidence. The drawer was still filled with jewelry, but now it also contained the watch he had given to Shin Hae-mi. Did Ben collect trophies from his victims? Just as he thought this, there was a noise outside, and he curiously went to investigate. He then realized that it was the cat that had just run away. Helping search, Lee Jong-soo found it in the garage. An idea struck him.
보이라. 보이라.
The cat actually ran into his arms, proving that Shin Hae-mi's disappearance was related to Ben. All clues pointed to Ben, yet evidence was elusive. At another party, Ben's new girlfriend gushed about China, reminding Lee Jong-soo of Shin Hae-mi. Ben yawned, then smiled knowingly at Lee Jong-soo. Lee Jong-soo couldn't stand it anymore and left, finding an excuse, but Ben followed him without hesitation.
종수 씨는 너무 진지한 것 같아. 진지하면 재미없어요. 즐겨야지. 여기서 뼛속에서부터 그게 좀 울려줘야.
Lee Jong-soo got in his car without a word. Although there is no evidence, the anger in his heart has already made him make a choice. Lying on Shin Hae-mi's bed one last time, he replayed everything, then began writing his novel. Meanwhile, Ben tenderly applied makeup to his new girlfriend, crafting his next sacrificial offering. Lee Jong-soo lured Ben to a remote snowy field to end things his way. As soon as he got off the bus, he stabbed Ben in the body. Ben staggered toward his car, but Lee Jong-soo caught him. Driving the knife deeper, Ben barely resisted. As if welcoming release, Lee Jong-soo shoved him into the car, his eyes brimming with excitement. He doused the car in gasoline, stripped off his bloody clothes, and used Ben's own lighter to ignite it. Watching the flames, he drove away. His rage was spent, replaced by hollow catharsis. To the rich, the poor were discardable like plastic greenhouses. Now, he hadn't just burned Ben. Instead, he burned away the world deep within himself that he felt powerless to change.